Hey there, welcome to the November 2nd episode of the Rant. It's my weekly show where I get things off my chest, go through the news, vent, get the steam out. Why? Because the world is stupid. And I need to expose this stupidity and get it out so people hopefully are discouraged from participating in further stupidity, though I do hold low hopes in that. Either way, it's Monday, it's time to get through things, and as usual, I didn't have to look terribly far to find a lot of stupid things to go on about. Might as well start with the international stuff. Things are big on the international scene, and with the American election, yeah, so there's going to be a whole lot of stupidity coming out no matter who wins that election down south of the border. This is the sort of dialogue they're having. This is Renee Graham, some sort of left-wing Fruit Loop journalist down there, puts out this picture and says, see the difference? Showing between people with American flags on their trucks and ISIS. Me neither. Like, this is the extent of the dialogue. She's comparing, again, okay, philosophically different, conservative-minded Americans with ISIS who chop the heads off of people, who murder people, who burn people alive in cages. But that's where it's at now, and we're just going to see an insane day tomorrow, I think, no matter who wins this election. And what's more distressing, than just the fact that this moron tweets stuff like this is tens of thousands of people liked it, retweeted it, and agree with it. They really think they're in some sort of world where they're in a dictatorship in the States. They really need to get out a little more. Trump is not Hitler. You don't have to like him. I'm not particularly fond of him. But this insanity. You're in a place where you can democratically remove this man. You're in a place where you can go out in the streets and whine and piss and moan and bitch, as you do, with barely any consequences. I mean, we actually, they let the protests go. If you were in the world that you guys think you're in, if you were in that dictatorship, you would have been shot a long time ago. Be thankful for the rights you're enjoying in that democratic area. So let's talk about these idiots, though, because these left-wing idiots are usually the ones who talk about how blissful the UN is and how we should listen to it and they're a great world force. This is the 2021 UN Human Rights Council list. This is the organization that's going to tell us whether we're properly respecting human rights of others. Look at that list. Every one of those countries is pretty much a shithole. I mean, they're developing, they're coming along. I shouldn't knock the individuals in them, but these aren't exactly the gold standard of nations, particularly when it comes to human rights. Oh, Russia. Is it legal to be gay there yet? How safe is it to talk badly about Putin over in Russia these days? They still have that habit of poisoning people. Uzbekistan, oh yes, always a bastion of human rights. I'm certain they'll have some good things to add. Cuba, yeah, they really know how to respect the human rights of others. Somalia, Cameroon, China. Really? This is the list of human rights. Not one developed European nation on there. You don't see Sweden or anybody on there. No, all these third world places that have next to nothing for human rights as it stands. You think that by putting these guys in charge of watching the human rights of others, they're suddenly going to learn how to practice them? But again, as I said, the world's stupid. And these are the ones that the left wants us to listen to. We're supposed to abide by the UN. I don't think so. That's a joke of an organization. If that's what you put together for a Human Rights Council, you're a joke. And it should not be taken seriously. But that's what we get from social justice warriors on the left. Isn't she a beaut? This one, I mean, it's just that facial expression, that rage, that indignance personifies a social justice warrior. That's why she's been made into many, many memes. Unfortunately, though, these insane, ridiculous social justice warriors are winning. We are bending to their will. We're doing ridiculous, stupid things because of their ridiculous, stupid demands, even though they're a tiny minority. So maybe we're the ones who are stupid. I'm not sure. But it's really time to start pushing back. But this beautiful thing here. So a new drama is coming out. And this actor, Turner Smith, I don't know who she is. Either way, maybe she's a fantastic actor. I don't know. I'm not an expert in those things, but I do read a fair amount of history, and she's going to play the English Queen Anne Boleyn in a new drama. Okay, I know enough about history, and I do have eyes, and I think there might be a bit of a problem. Oh yeah, virtual twins, right? It's hard to tell them apart. Let's look back again. Oh yeah, she just a dead ringer for the role. You see, this is how absurd it's gotten. We're not allowed to historically accurately even portray things any longer. Look, We don't accept anymore somebody putting on blackface and playing a black character. Times with Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's playing an Asian man, we frown on that. It's not acceptable. Turning it around by putting a very black woman in a role of what was very clearly a very white woman is just absurd and stupid. It's not a fair play turnabout thing. It's just idiocy. I'm not sure what you're trying to do. When I watch a historical drama, I understand you're not going to get a perfect dead ringer, and you want to dramatize things for interest. I mean, you're still better off getting a book to learn history than to watch it on a movie or television. But at least, come on, guys. As I said earlier, tweet, who are you going to get to play her husband, who was Henry VIII? Jackie Chan. Like, just at least stick to some degree. But no, these guys demand that we do these things. We have to make these colors invisible. Pardon me. Either way. Yeah, there's a ringer. So let's get on to some more stupidity. And this is a bigger issue. And again, kind of these social justice warriors. The move to demonize the police. The police are evil. The police are bad. The police must apologize. The police must be ashamed. Jeremy Farkas, the one and only councillor in Calgary City Hall, him and perhaps Sean Chu, who try to put a little bit of common sense in there. He's running for mayor. Thankfully, I'm really looking forward to him winning it. But he's been standing up against the anti-police lunatics, and they really are. They're extremists and lunatics. Black Lives Matter Canada is calling for the abolition of the police. People keep saying, no, they just want funds redirected. Oh, bullshit. Go to their site, go to Black Lives Matter Canada, read their demands. They want the police abolished. They want them gone. And they're not talking about what they'll be replaced with. Oh, they talk about some community policing and some more guidance counselors and crap, but they don't have a realistic plan. Yet we're bending over to them. They're talking as high as 20% cuts to the police budget to move towards this police-free state. Meanwhile, go downtown sometime. With the crime and the homelessness and the mess that's going on down there. Sorry, guys, the police aren't perfect, but we need them. So what have they done? With Jeremy Farkas being the lone one talking against defunding the police these days, well, they've kicked him off the police commission. Like, the police have some cultural issues. They've got some problems going on. But what you do need is a diverse police commission then that examines these issues, looks into them. But no, instead, City Hall tries to quell the voices that are going against the social justice agenda of stupidity that they're pursuing, which is following the agenda of extremism from Black Lives Matter and our stupidity compounds. But this is stupidity that gets into the dangerous zone. Because whether we like it or not, we need police. They have to do a tough, nasty, miserable job dealing with violent people, putting themselves at risk and on our behalf. It's not the best pay. I mean, again, let's work on solving things. They can certainly do better. But constantly demonizing them, making them seem like they should be ashamed of themselves. You think that's helping? This came out, the Calgary police bent over backwards, apologizing, so inappropriate. This little medal, it turned out this coin that's been given out for years as some sort of challenge award while they're doing their firearms training. It's so inappropriate, it's so militaristic, it shows guns and it shows a skull. Oh, piss off, you snowflake weenies. I mean, so what? So what? It's a coin. It shows firearms. These guys that do have to be tough. It's not saying they're going to go out and kill and shoot people. And look, we don't have a big police shooting problem in Alberta. We don't. We got this pretend BLM protest. Oh, God, Calgary, we got this systemic racism going, which is bullshit. This is not a problem. But even more innocuous is the thin blue line patches then. Let's get to that. This is something that police officers have been wearing in the States and Canada. It just shows a little thin blue line patch on their thing. And it represents that thin blue line between disorder and order that the police kind of walk and try to protect us from ourselves. And it's just a bit of a point of pride, showing their place in society, how important they are to us, how it's a difficult thing to traverse. It's symbolic. Well, people are asking for them to remove them. They're offended. Who's been complaining? Well, her, of course, always. But why do we keep bending over to these lunatics, to these social justice warriors? Part of it's because we keep electing idiots, and the stupidity keeps going from them. We've got to change that. We've got a chance this year. But yes, this thin blue line thing. So following up, it's not just Victoria where all the left-wing Fruit Loops are. No, the RCMP, our federal force, has jumped out and said, yeah, you guys have got to get rid of wearing those while you're on duty as well. It's constantly asking police to look at their feet and be ashamed of themselves. It's saying you guys are inherently evil, you're inherently racist, and that's what these motions are too. Farkas stood against that. He refuses to come out and say that the police are a racist organization, because that's what they're demanding. They're not just demanding defunding, too. They're basically saying, you guys have got to stand up there and admit to us like a little kid saying lines in class, oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually a racist. They're not. Unless they did something fucking racist, do not get on them. And they haven't done things. Some individuals might have. Let's get on those ones. But this constant debasing of our police forces is not helping us. Not a bit. And then you get this. Okay, there was an arrest video that came out in Calgary with a police officer who got very violent with somebody. And the Calgary councillors are jumping all over this as their excuse to come after the police. This was one cop, did something bad. It's unacceptable when they get too violent. But do you think that humiliating police all the time, cutting their budget, doing all these other things is what's going to make them better? Do you really think so? Who are you going to call when the violent person's trying to break into your house? Who's going to break up that domestic dispute? How does a business owner get a belligerent drunk out of their place who's assaulting other customers? You call the police, and they have to deal with it. And it's not easy. And they also see some terrible scenes. They see murder scenes. They see child abuse victims. They deal with a lot of friggin' problems. Do we want to give resources so they can help deal with those problems and get better? Absolutely. But this idiotic, and you look at Black Lives Matter protests and they have ACAB and those signs all over the place, it stands for all cops are bastards. These are the people we're listening to. These are the people we're trying to reason with. Cut it out. Don't listen to them. They're extremists. They're lunatics. Let's get real on things. But no, not in City Hall. What do? We throw the voice off of the police commissioner who's been standing up for them. That really helps. And look, I'm not known for not having some run-ins with the police before in the past. That situation was rather public. Made national news, if I recall. And my problem wasn't so much with the police. It was with our spineless mayor, Nenshi, at the time. But all the same, it led to a police affair. I didn't make things any worse than I really had to. Something I am a little ashamed of. As you see, my protest sign during that episode one of my demands was to bring back Arrested Development, and they did, which seemed like a great idea, but the reboot was really kind of terrible. They couldn't regain the magic, and it was unfortunate. But City Hall, Calgary, it's the most dysfunctional, ugly one we've ever seen. Rick Bell and others who've been covering it for decades are all saying the same thing. I mean, it's terrible. They need a flush from top to bottom. And they're trying to stunt discussion. We're going into the election year. And the last thing Nenshi wants is voices, and these incumbent city councillors that may undercut their run. This is when they'll suddenly pretend to be fiscal conservatives again. They pretend to be responsible, pretend to be all the things they were when they got elected the first time. One's like Keating or Ward Sutherland. God, he's a joke. Suddenly pretending to be conservative again to save their jobs. Let's fire them. And things that are coming up, because we've got a lot of big discussions. And the chief paramedic Sandbeck put out a large letter and called Nenshi out on bullshit. And hey, Nenshi's known for bullshit. It's funny, he claims to be the mayor and never lies. He's been caught in lying multiple times. Just ask how he got sued by Shane Holmes, or how he got sued by, or was probably going to be sued by Uber for his claiming that the city had put sex offenders in there. He's, in fact, perhaps almost a pathological liar. Either way, he was more polite than I am. He just said that Nenshi made untrue statements. So what happens? Instead of discussing what's going on from the chief paramedic who knows more about AHS and emergency services than Nenshi, I am sure of it, Nenshi gets his chief poodle to demand an apology and retract his statement. No, I can't prove that, but Nenshi doesn't want to jump into the mix, and Drew Farrell has always been his happy little puppy to do his dirty work when it comes to these things. So, because it doesn't look at Nenshi himself demanding the apology. No, it's Farrell who's offended with this, because she does what she's told, her and Nenshi. She doesn't want to lose Nenshi up there in that council. But again, it comes to demanding apologies, retractions, get the discussion out of there. Don't fix things, just shut the discussion up. This is where we're at. We're at many levels of politics, but City Hall is particularly bad for it, particularly when the mayor gets upset, which is rather often. We got an opportunity to change these things here. Nenshi is playing really coy about whether he wants to run again. The reality is, he's dipping his toe in the water. I mean, the man makes 2 pensions. He's the highest paid mayor in Canada. 200 and some thousand a year plus a raft of benefits. 2 pensions. Literally 2 pensions. He doesn't want to give that job up. But the polls are also showing that he very well might lose that job. Now, his pride is the only thing bigger than a number of things on him. And he doesn't want to lose an election. That would be a big shot to his pride. But then if he leaves now, he loses that pension and those big numbers. It's not like there's a big pile of jobs with pay that well waiting for him out there. Plus, people will realize he just ran away rather than win his seat back. Farkas came along and gave him a good run for his money, and when the going got tough, Nenshi got going. But it's going to be an ugly election one way or another. Speaking of shutting down debate. So the NDP are playing political games. This one was kind of a neat one. If you're playing pure politics, when you're looking to just divide, you're not really actually looking to do anything productive, but you really want to screw with the other party. They put a motion out on private members' thing to basically force the entire government to get up and decry support for independence within Alberta, or Alberta within Canada. It's a loaded question, a loaded thing to ask them to do. It was a way to make some of the MLAs who are more supportive of independence movements and motions stand out from the others and possibly cause infighting. So again, from a Machiavellian, unprincipled perspective, it is a very good way to cause some division. Kenny, it looks like they managed to kill the debate by burying it in the order papers. So, I mean, hey, if you're going to start with political games, don't bitch when they use political mechanisms to kill the motion. And then Kenny slamming the NDP for insulting the independence movement. I would say that's a standard headline. And that's, I'm guessing that's what he was kind of saying. Well, the thing is, because you've got over a quarter or more and growing of Albertans who do support that, and they don't want to see themselves shamed and have a legislature where it's actually been shut down, the debate's not allowed, and motions like that from Notley come out and say we can't even talk about that point of view that 25% or more of Albertans are moving towards. Again, non-democratic, the usual left thing though. Shut up differing voices. Don't try to debate them. Don't try to beat them in a fair process. Just try to shut them up through hysterics and so on. But don't expect any less out of former Premier Notley. She has hit her peak, desperately wants to get back in that premier's chair, and it's very, very unlikely she ever will, but she's going to stop at nothing to try. So we're going to see a lot more of these non-productive political games happening in the legislature as she plays games of gotcha with Jason Kenney while answering to her union masters. And it comes to blaming Kenney and the Kenney government, and they do a number of things wrong, a great many, and I blame them for that. But Trudeau's crappy popularity is not Kenney's fault. I wish the Alberta government was solely responsible for that. I think that would be a great thing for us to celebrate as Albertans. Look at that. We are responsible for Trudeau's lagging popularity. Unfortunately, in Central Canada, he's still terribly popular anyway, so this isn't much for him to worry about. But to blame the Alberta government for it, man, that's a whole new level of pathetic even for Trudeau. But I think Kenney should stand up and take credit for that and say, well, see, here's one good thing we've done in these crazy times. And getting on to Trudeau, our imbecile-in-chief. It's been a crazy world out there. With the Charlie Hebdo cartoons, caused a bunch of insane, extreme Islamists to murder people. They killed a bunch of cartoonists and journalists. There were riots before when cartoons were published by a Danish publication and people died over that. Macron's not taking it, though. This seems to be coming up again since a teacher brought up those cartoons and it caused it didn't cause. So that's the point. An insane extremist Muslim cut the head off that teacher for daring to show the cartoons. You can't blame the teacher for that, but that's kind of what Trudeau is doing. You see, these people talk about it. This is free speech. Macron, who's a progressive, he's a left-wing leader, but he's not having any of this. And he's saying it's free speech. Those cartoons are out there. You can find them offensive, fine, but that's just the way it goes. Suck it up, move on. And he actually made a statement along the lines of, if you can't handle that sort of thing in France, you don't belong here, get the hell out. Trudeau, on the other hand, I support free speech, but, oh, wait, you know what, as soon as you say but, then it means you don't support free speech. And then he starts likening the publishing of these cartoons as calling, crying fire in a theater and the tired old trope about limiting free speech. No, Justin, they're cartoons. And you're pandering to these extremists, you're cowardice, you're such a wimp. It's pathetic. You've embarrassed us on the world stage yet again, basically. Strong leaders like Macron, even a left-wing strong one, I can respect that, is standing up for his nation, standing up for freedoms, standing against people who literally cut the heads off of people for showing a friggin' cartoon. And Justin gets all wishy-washy about it. What, you don't want to insult the terrorists, Justin? I don't care. By the way, here's one of the cartoons. This is the Danish one, or was among them. The Western Standard actually got dragged before the Human Rights Commission. It was under Ezra Levant's ownership at that time for publishing these cartoons of Muhammad. And we've published them again because, kiss my ass, we're allowed to. It is free expression. It's free speech. A bit offensive. Sorry if it is. Not really sorry, I guess, but it's just the way it goes. Get over it. it doesn't justify violence, at least not to sane people. And I know the vast majority of Muslims have no interest in assaulting and killing people over cartoons, but unfortunately more of them do than is acceptable at this point, and it's got to stop. Here's another one from Charlie Hebdo. That's the other one that got them all wound up. A nice close quarters kiss and a picture. I don't even know the French that's in that. So here you are for your enjoyment again, these cartoons. And there's no apologizing for them. It's free speech. Justin, whether you like it or not, you've embarrassed us on the world stage yet again. Par for the course with Justin. You are the Choad of the week this week. Well earned as always. It was a matter of time. I'm surprised it took me this long to give Justin that award. He'll probably win it a few more times until we manage to get him unelected somehow, if we do. Suspect the independence movement might have more to do getting us out of Justin's clutches than Canadian federal elections, but we'll see. So thanks for tuning in to my rant this week, and there will be live coverage on the Standard's Facebook page with video and a panel for the American election. Wednesday we're going to be running through the news again, and we just keep expanding our digital presence out there. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.